Hello everybody and welcome to our Sopro O-Live online show, the digital show. Today we have the topic about our waterproofing systems with a lot of nice and new informations about our waterproofing product. As you know, Sopro, we are delivering different products for fixing tiles, grouting tiles, for substrate preparation, and of course, as you know, tiles are very often laid in areas where we have to deal with water or moisture. So today we want to talk about waterproofing systems to keep the moisture and the water where it has to and where it belongs. I'm together with my colleagues Guido Franz and Christoph Ritter. They want to help me with a practical demonstration. It's all about the practical demonstration today. And I would say we start directly with our first topic, the waterproofing of our Dsf-Rs product 623. Fast setting material, really nice handling and nice to mix. Christoph will show you how to do the mixing. It's a one component material, cement based, with a large variety of the water ratio. So you can adapt the water to your needs, make it more liquid for the floors or to roll the material and more stiffer for the walls. Okay, Christoph is ready with the mixing process. What we did before the application starts is using the primer, our standard primer GD749, comes in different bucket sizes, and which we use for all absorbent substrate like we have here, the gypsum board. Very good also for renovation because it takes only 10 minutes to dry out, so easy to brush, to roll on, wait 10 minutes, and then you can use the waterproofing material. Yeah, here Guido, he has the new Dsf-Rs on the notch trowel. You see what is very special about the material is that the consistency is really, really nice. It has you can put on a lot of material onto your notch trowel, onto your tool. It doesn't float away, it's not too liquid. But on the other hand, Guido, I think just need one hand. It's really easy to apply. You only need one hand and less hand power because it's really smooth. This is what the S stands for in the RS name. It's a very smooth application, so it's less hand power. But on the other hand, it's quite thixotrophic, so it stays very nice on the notch trowel and on the wall, and it doesn't float down too easily, especially if you have maybe pores or holes in the substrate. And that was maybe a disadvantage in the past, that the materials were much easier able to float out of maybe holes or pores in the substrate. So here you see Guido is taking a 6 millimeters of notch trowel, so this helps you to take care for the right thickness. Right thickness of the material is at least 2 millimeters in the complete dried condition. And as you know, probably we need to take 2 layers of the material. But you can do this quite quickly. So after 2 hours of drying time, you can do the next layer and overwork the material. So when you have a good consumption calculation with these 6 millimeters of notch trowels, you are able to take care for your consumption, that you don't waste too much material. So this is very easy to handle. Another good benefit of the Dsf-Rs is the reactivity. This is what the R stands for. So it's a reactive material, so you have these tapes in between the overlaps. The material dries out very quickly, even if it's completely trapped between the tapes and there's no way for the humidity to dry out. Yeah? The material is really quick drying and reactive. This is what the R stands for. So very good. Yeah. There's another product, maybe you know, the TDS-823. It's a 2-component material. We have this also in our product range. So if you have really cold conditions, maybe you will take the TDS-823. It's even more reactive, even faster. But on the other hand, your open pot lifetime with the TDS is much shorter. Yeah? This is also new for the RS. You have a very long workability, so the product has a very good open time. Yeah, at least 45 minutes of workability to get the material out of the bucket and work with it. So it's very comfortable for you to work with no stress, no hurry up, because the material has a very long open time. But on the other hand, it's quick drying. After 2 to 3 hours, you can put the next layer on it, or if you had put the last layer on, you can put the tiles after 3 hours on top of the Dsf-Rs. Yeah, so quite good. Guido will show you now how to check in the even wet conditions if the thickness is right with these small tools. 1.2. So you have different levels like these tooths, and you can check if the thickness is right. So it's 1.2 millimeter per layer. We are absolutely on the right side. There's a little bit shrinkage, but the shrinkage of the Dsf-Rs is really, really low. So if you keep material in the bucket and will forget about this, and you will check that the material gets hard from all sides at the same time. So it's very reactive, as I said, and it doesn't need to dry out. Another nice thing about the RS is also it has a EC1 plus testing. So it's also tested for very low emissions, which is even more important also for the customer. And it's also very flexible in cold conditions. So we got also the -5-degree testing for the flexibility, even crack bridging, even if it's completely frozen. So also important and to know, because you can use this material also for balconies, for terraces to get them waterproof, of course for showers and even for pools, yeah, and stuff like that, wellness areas, you can use the Dsf-Rs. So now we come to our next product with our FDF, Sopro acrylic dispersion material, which is really simple to use and really easy to use. We want to show now. Christoph, maybe you can mix the product and open the bucket. Mixing? No, of course we don't need any mixing. It's ready to use. It's one component, and just open the bucket and take your brush and you can start to work. So no mixing time at all, which is a big benefit, of course. Saves you a lot of time, and it's really easy. But of course here, as you know, we need also here 2 layers and also a minimum thickness. This minimum thickness is mandatory to have 0.5 millimeters. That's quite thin, but also you have to check how to get these thickness. Guido, you will show there's one very simple trick. Just take your pencil, make maybe a mark on the substrate, and then you will see that you have to overwork this mark, that you don't see it anymore. So if you this mark is not visible anymore, you know, okay, my first layer is thick enough, I have enough thickness, I have enough material on my substrate that I will pass the 0.5 millimeter in total. Yeah, quite easy. Yeah. So maybe we can check this, Guido. So he's starting with the FDF, ready to use, as I said, and you see you can do it too thin by pressing too hard, then it's not enough material. So be nice and kind to the roll and to the brush, and then you know, okay, the material on the wall is enough. Yeah. We have also, for a second safety, we have 2 different types of colors, light gray and gray. No matter with which color you will start, this doesn't matter, but we recommend this in Germany by our waterproofing DIN standard. In the meantime, it is mandatory to use 2 colors. So then you know, okay, you check, you see that you had 2 layers. Also maybe the owner can check, okay, 2 layers are applied and no problem, you did your job right, and yeah, to have an extra security. So it's easy to roll. Very important is to get the substrate before you do this with a primer to have an extra safety. We recommend our primer SG874, which makes, if you compare this to our standard primer GD749, this primer makes the substrate more vapor proof, so the vapor resistance is much higher with this material here. So this is mandatory to use in Scandinavian countries in this combination to get the extra security in combination with this primer and the FDF acrylic dispersion material. tested in one system as well, so it's ATAC tested, the primer in combination with 2 layers of the FDF. So we have the ATAC testing certificate for this as well. And you see Guido is quite fast, so I think it's maybe the most simplest version of getting your wall, for example, waterproof, that there is no leakage anymore and the water from the shower is not able to penetrate in your subconstruction. So quite easy and very economic and user-friendly. So now in our third chapter, we want to talk about the Sopro AEB 815, which is a waterproofing membrane. The big benefit about the membrane technology is that you, of course, only need 1 layer. We talked about before about the liquid waterproofing systems, FDF and DSF. There we need 2 layers and we need a specific thickness. And with this technology here, with the AEB 815, you don't need any thickness control because the membrane itself is waterproof, so you have a big benefit of being much more secure belonging your thickness. Yeah? But on the other hand, we have to talk about how to fix these membranes to the substrate, to the wall, to the floor. And want to ask now Guido, he's starting with our product FDK 415. This is our product for fixing all these membranes like the AEB 815. The FDK 415 is a cement-based product, 2-component. So instead of water, we have these polymer milk. But if you like, you can add to this polymer milk up to 200 milliliters of water to get it even more liquid, to get it more creamy, more, the more liquid also brings you that the material has a longer open time, so the workability will get longer and more easy. We like the additional water if we talk about very absorbent substrate like gypsum board, very plain substrates. Then we like to add the water. At the end, it's up to you, it's your choice. And if you have maybe a rough plaster, and the plaster has a lot of pores, then we take the material as it is without the water. So it's up to you, your choice. You can mix it as you like. Guido did a small trick. He didn't put in the complete polymer milk from the beginning, just maybe 2 parts out of 3 he put on in the polymer milk. Then he started a little bit mixing, and at the end he did the rest of the polymer milk amount, and then he's mixing again. This helps you to get the product mixed much faster and more creamy. Yeah? Small trick. And of course you need to mix the product mechanically, so don't take your hand. This is not enough power. You need this drilling tool to mix the material. The FDK has a big benefit about the pot life. The pot life of the material is about 1 hour. So I think it's far enough time, plenty enough time to get the material out and get it onto the substrate, which Christoph will show you soon after the mixing. So material is mixed, ready. As I said, 1 hour of pot life, and at the other side, it's quite fast setting. So after this 1 hour, if it's applied on a very thin layer, so it's possible to fix tiles on these membranes after 1.5 hours. So as long as it's in the bucket, it stays very long open, and if it's applied in a very thin coat on the substrate, then it's more reactive, and even if it's covered with or trapped with the membrane, it will react very fast that you can put tiles on after 1.5 hours. Yeah? You see the big benefit. The old-fashioned method would be to apply tile adhesive with a notch trowel on the wall and then glue the membranes into the tile adhesive. But this, of course, as you know, you need to maybe climb on to apply the tile adhesive on higher parts, and you need to go down to your knees to apply the tile adhesive in lower sections. And here you see, you can do everything in an upright stand-up position, and it's much easier to work with and really handsome and fast, and also quite saves a lot of energy to your body. So if you have to work all day with the materials, it's much less stressful and less powerful, much easier. So Christoph, he applied the material with a big roll, then he has a smaller roll or a brush. You can brush the material in small details around corners and stuff like that. And yeah, when it's ready, then you should take care, of course, that the substrate before you do it is right primed with our 749 primer. And then, as long as the material is open, he's fixing in the AEB 815. And then he's taking also the brush to pressure the material against the open FDK 450. Yeah, we like really much. Christoph, maybe you can show the tool into the camera. We really like really much this tool because there's no sharp edges, no things which can damage maybe the membrane. So it's really secure. And also if you have maybe a higher wall, you can make help yourself make a grip on it, and so you can get it into higher levels. Yeah, really fast. Also on floors, it helps if you have these grip, which you can get longer and smaller and really fast. So yeah, small details we have here, like we are in a small shower. We have these tubes looking out. We have a look on that later, how to get them waterproof. And you see, beginning from the middle, putting the material to the outside, that there's no air trapped in between, and put some pressure on the membrane. So you see it's really, really fast and really easy to work with. And of course, the benefit of the membrane is that if you have maybe orthocritical substrates, like small cracks, or maybe you have substrate which is sometimes gypsum boards, maybe you have brickworks or old wood construction, no problem. The membrane can cover this and makes a secure substrate for the tiles and the grouts later on, that they don't have any cracks or the grout is falling out or so. So makes all substrates very secure. Christoph is doing now here the overlap zone in the corner. So of course we have also waterproofing tapes, like this here, which we use on all substrate corners, inside corners, outside corners, and of course also in the overlap zone between walls and floor sections. And these needs to be fixed also with the FDK 415. The big benefit, if you combine these also to older systems with the tile adhesive, then here on the overlap zones, in the past, you needed a special, maybe MS polymer material like our Racofix 818. And here with the 415, you can do this in the same working step, same material, without losing time or maybe waiting time for drying. You can do it directly in the same time. And so it's very, very efficient and helps you to save losing time on your construction site. And makes it even more secure, because the big benefit, of course, the FDK is reactive. Also between the tapes, it's very quick drying. Needs only some hours, and then it's completely hardened out. Because the cement is really, really reactive and doesn't need to remove moisture out of the structure. It's completely chemical binded by a high crystalline water binding capacity, which the FDK has. So no worries that the tapes are drying over a long time. No, it's really fast and really secure. Also, for example, if you have a construction site which is a little bit time critical. The corner, maybe you take this one. No problem. And very important that you take this corner which is prefabricated, and please don't fold the tapes around. This will always be a weak point, and you will have a leakage maybe there. So always take these prefabricated corners. Of course, we have these inside corners and outside corners. And now we have the tape overlapping to the floors and also fixed and waterproofed with the FDK. Please keep in mind the overlap between a tape and a manchette or a collar and a corner needs to be at least 50 millimeters overlapping zone. So our tapes are 12 centimeters wide, so you have a little bit left around to be extra safety and secure. Yeah, no problem. And you see here, no waiting time. You can do the next working step directly after the other. It's a little bit up to you if you want to start with the tapes and then take the wall, or maybe take the wall membrane first and then put the tapes. This is a little bit up to you. So the system is always waterproof and safety, and has safety enough, so you don't have to take care for what is first and what is afterwards. Yeah, no problem. Same method for the flooring. Yeah, so if you think about getting a shower waterproof with a drain or a channel drain, we put the FDK on the primered substrate. Same here. And then put the AEB 815 membrane in the fresh FDK 415. Yeah? Also here nicely to do with the brush. Take care that you have enough material on the substrate. So if you see there's very thin parts where you can look through the FDK and see the substrate, this is maybe not enough. So take care with your roll to apply enough material that the substrate is quite good covered. Yeah, that's important. And here, without any waiting time, you can overlap the corner tapes and the ceiling tapes or the walls directly with the next membrane on the floor. Yeah. Just work from the inside to the outside. So if air is trapped below the membrane, if you spread this air to the outside, then you have the complete safety that everything is completely, in a good coverage, and it's good fixed. Yeah. You don't. Maybe there's a question about what should we do when the membrane is over. Yeah. Do we need a waterproofing tape for overlapping, or can we do the membrane overlap by itself? Yes, you can do. We only recommend the tape really at the overlapping parts between walls and floors and in corners. But if the membrane is over, you can overlap the membrane by itself. There's also a small mark, so the 5 centimeter zone on the membrane is marked, is visible, so you can easily do the overlap with the membrane also here without any waterproofing tapes. Yeah, so you can save money for the tapes and do the membrane with the overlap of at least 5 centimeters. And of course, same here in the overlap zone, Christoph is applying the FDK 415, and then you can do this in one working step and saving a lot of time. And of course, you see here, don't worry about the thickness. The membrane has always its own thickness, so you don't have to check this. More safety for you. And the thickness is also a topic, I think, for a lot of tile fixers, because too much thickness of the membrane is sometimes a little bit critical. Then if you have a corner and a tape, and then you have maybe 3 layers over each other, then you have a big package, and this is not so nice by laying thin tiles or maybe mosaic. So people worry about the thickness. The AEB 815 is a very, very thin membrane system. So especially in combination with the FDK 415, also very thin, fine cement grains. So the overlapping parts is really, really low in thickness and doesn't harm you by putting tiles on top. Yeah? So quite easy to apply. You save a lot of time, and you have extra secureness by the control of your thickness. If you've seen, there's some tubes looking out of the wall, which Christoph was doing, the shower tubes, yeah, for getting warm and cold water, of course. And here we need to do some special details. Of course, you know these systems. I think this is our AEB 815 program for the colors. So depending on your tube size, we have different diameters. So we can start with 10 millimeters in diameters, and we go up to 150 millimeters for the really big tubes, maybe for toilets and stuff like that, also for shower tubes. So depending what tubes you will check or you will need for your construction site, we have the right product. 6 different product diameters for the colors, and very important, I think, is that these colors are very flexible, so they adapt very good to the tubes. This is not one diameter, so it's a diameter range, so really easy for you to work with. Beside our color variation of this one, we have also these double colors and a little bit thicker diameter, these ones. So really easy to use. Yeah, but now we want to see how everything is fixed. So I take these ones for the standard warm water and cold water tubes, and I will bring these ones to Christoph. And Christoph is already prepared with the waterproofing system. So he will now take the FDK 415 again, and he will brush around these tubes, warm water and cold water tubes for the shower outlets. And yeah, he will brush the FDK around this, and then he put in, during the FDK still wet, these special collars around, and which gives you extra security, as I said, is that these collars are flexible and they don't have one diameter which fits to the tube, but they have a range of diameters, so you can adjust these collars to a wide range of tubes depending on the right diameter. So really fast to do. Think a little bit material put over the collars, that everything is completely safe and tight and secure. So if you see that there's maybe something missing, just take a little bit of FDK and overwork. Especially the edges, I think it's really important to overwork that everything is completely covered. Yeah. Maybe then you look for what your work, what you have done and what your work is, and maybe you see later on, there's a little bit of a bubble or air is trapped. So as long as everything is wet and not hardened out, it's easy that you can push the air from the inside outside to the outside, so the air is removed, and then you have a really plain and nice surface. And only less overlapping zones, overlapping thickness, because the material itself is very thin. So really easy then later on, after 1.5 hours of drying time, to put the tiles on. So now we want to show you another liquid waterproofing material, and I would say a very high performance material. We call this the Sopro PU-FD. And I want to ask Guido now to show you how it's mixed. This is very important. By mixing polyurethane materials, take care for your health. Yeah, take care for your eyes. So you need eye protection, you need gloves, special gloves for protection for your skin. Please wear long sleeves to protect your body. And the result of the polyurethane material is a very high performance material. It's unreached in flexibility, so it's really, really crack bridging. And so we use this material especially when we have to deal with high water pressure, so in very stressed areas, in underwater areas like pools, very deep pools, maybe old constructions, old concrete pools, and maybe also pools with high aggressive water content, so the water is maybe cement aggressive by being very salty, for example. On the other hand, we use this material in very stressed wellness areas, or also in maybe in public areas when we have very owners who want to have the very best material and the most crack bridging, the most secure material. As I said, very important to mix it right. It's two component A and B, and the resin materials, they only get hard and cure out when you mix A and B completely together. So very important to do this very, very carefully and with a lot of respect to the material. To don't hurry up too much, so you need to take your time. Don't make it too fast from the drilling speed. This maybe puts too much air and also too much temperature inside of the material, and the more temperature by drilling and mixing you put into the material, the faster the reaction is. Of course, also depending on your temperatures on the construction site, it's no wonder if you store the material outside in the pure sunlight. Of course, the material gets heated up, and then the result will be a much faster reaction, and for you as a craftsman, a less working time. So the working time will get quite short if the material is hot. Yeah? And on the other side, if the construction site is very, very cold, please take care. All the resin materials like our polyurethane, waterproofing, epoxy grouts, epoxy adhesive, epoxy primers, they need at least 10 degrees of temperature, air temperature, and also substrate temperature. A little bit more security, like 12 degrees would be better. Yeah, so take care for this. The polyurethane waterproofing system is not only based on the waterproofing material itself, which is PUFD, which we have in a wall component and floor product, which are different by the consistency. So the floor is very, very liquid, and the wall material is more sticky. And of course, you can use the wall material also for slopes and the floor and details maybe at the floor, but not the other way around. Except when you use our SLM, which is a thixotropic product, which makes the floor material more thixotrophic. So you mix these fibers in, you can use this material also for the wall. Another product which is, makes the system full is the Epg Epoxy Primer Epg 522, which is also two components, same mixture process, more liquid, more feels like honey. And we also prepared this substrate here with the Epg primer, which is then sanded off with our fire-dried sand 507, which is a very thin grain, yeah? So not to penetrate too deep into the waterproofing. Yeah? And Guido is now showing you our PUFD with the wall consistency. I think it's very nice to work with. It's very smooth and creamy. You can put a lot of material on your notch trowel, but you don't need so much power. It's really easy, yeah? And it stays really nice. You see, maybe Guido, you can put a little bit more material on the wall, so you see that the product is not running down. It stays on the wall, and it's really easy to work with, yeah? And also here we need 2 layers and a total thickness of 1 millimeter at least. In this case, we recommend like a 3 millimeter notch trowel for the first layer and a 1.5 or 2 millimeter notch trowel for the second layer. And also here, the second layer always needs to be sanded completely in total, so no leftovers of zones where there's no sand. Then maybe the tile adhesive has a problem by sticking onto that very clean surface. So you need the sand to get the tiles and the tile adhesive sticking to the substrate. And this sand is our little bit bigger grain to make the substrate and the surface more rough. It's a QS 511, which is fire dried. And always take care the sand stays dry. Also on the construction site, please don't store it outside when there's rain coming on and there's moisture in the sand. This is not very welcomed by the fresh polyurethane material. It doesn't like moisture as long as it is fresh. Yeah? So keep this in mind, also from the substrate moisture. Yeah? So Guido was taking the notch trowel now to get it smooth. Yeah? And a very interesting topic is maybe this material is quite new. It's the second version of our polyurethane waterproofing system. So this version, quite new, we will launch this in about March 2021. This one has now the EC1 Plus mark, so is tested, the wall component, the floor material, and also the Epg Epoxy Primer is now tested with the EC1 Plus mark, so very low emission also for that polyurethane or epoxy-based products, which is very important in the meantime in bigger buildings, bigger construction sites. They look very carefully for those testings, and the new material has got these EC1 Plus marks now tested. So another very important application field for the PUFD would be also the public kitchen areas or all areas, construction site where we have to deal with food, yeah. So because it's very chemical resistant, and but yeah, on the other hand, there's the mixing process and the fact that it is a polyurethane material. Not everybody likes to get along with polyurethane material or resin material, maybe also because of the healthcare. So we, as the company of Sopro, we did invent another material that is very interesting for you as a craftsman, as well maybe as of the owner, constructors of the buildings. It's the so-called AEB HD. HD means heavy duty. So the fact this material, it's a membrane like the AEB 815, so similar to that, but it has a much more better adhesion force. So the connection to the substrate and the connection to the tiles with the tile adhesive, special tile adhesives, they are much higher than to compare with the AEB 815. Yeah, the 815 has the fleece on top and below, and if you have very high strength and forces, these fleece will disconnect at around 0.3, 0.4 newtons per square millimeters. And this material has no fleece on top and below, so it's only the core, only the waterproof core with a special mineralized surface on both sides. So we have a good connections with a nice choice of tile adhesive. And the same here for fixing these membrane, the AEB HD. We always recommend the FTK 415, which we showed already. More or less the same working step than doing the AEB 815. So the same working time, same working step, although the overlaps to glue with the FTK 415. Same here. If you have an absorbent substrate, take care you have a good primer, 749, really good primer that the substrate is not absorbent anymore. So the moisture will stay in the FTK 415. And then you can apply during the FTK still wet, the AEB HD membrane. And I think the same benefits then if you compare this with a liquid material, you have the same benefits. The materials has one layer and you don't have to check the thickness at all. It's not your job. The membrane is only one layer and that's it. You only have to take care for the overlap zones and for doing the right details. Yeah. So I think it's a really good and interesting product, especially for areas with heavy stressed, heavy maybe loads by like a truck wash or truck garage or car washing station, and with heavy chemical stress, like a public kitchen, also like a food preparation area or a brewery, a winery with heavy chemical stress by maybe putting too much acid into the construction. Then, as you know, a cement-based product would maybe fail. So this product has a very good safety for chemical stress. So same here, we put the AEB HD to the substrate. See here it has like marks on top, like 5 to 5 centimeters square, so you can cut it everywhere where you like it. Make the overlap the same as the AEB 815, same result, at least 5 centimeters of overlap we need here. We have also waterproofing tapes in the system and waterproofing corners and one color for wall. Maybe you need this product also for walls, but mainly it is thought for the floorings where we have the most stress, but maybe also in these public kitchens or industrial zones, also the wall may be stressed as well. So what you see here, Christoph is doing the overlap with the same material. So do it membrane by membrane. First, put the FTK 415 in a, in an area like 1.10 meters wide, so you can put your membrane in. And after you have installed the first roll or the first section of membrane, then you can take the FTK again, because the bucket is still open, the material is still open, has a long workability, and then take the next 1.10 meters and just overlap the existing membrane, which you already fixed, like 5 to 7 to 6 centimeters. Then you can have the overlap in the same working step. And so you do step by step by step, and it gets, you are really fast in this method, and you don't waste time, and it's really secure. Yeah. So we recommend the FTK. Also, if you have moderate stress, like in a public kitchen, you can use the FTK also for the overlappings, the overlap zones, or fixing the waterproofing tapes. Only if we are going into a really, really high chemical stress, like industrial zones where we have maybe several hundreds of square meters of food preparation and maybe 1,000 of food dishes per day, or maybe a complete industrial zone where food is prepared, or where they have to deal with food or cheese factory, for example, then we recommend just for the overlap zone to take the PU-FD material, which is even more chemical resistant in the overlap zone. Yeah? And at the end, just to say, take the right adhesives for fixing the tiles. And not every type of tile adhesive in our stock is tested in this system. There's a small group, which is the Megaflex S2 tile adhesive, our epoxy tile adhesive, the DBE 500. So if you have really big chemical stress, we need an epoxy tile adhesive on top as well. And another tile adhesive would be the Vario Flex 420, so the really fast-setting Vario Flex, which is very good for the floors, liquid, only for the floors, this tile adhesive. And same for the 403 #1 silver, which was able to put the tiles on the wall. Yeah, nice new system, brand new, our invention. So I think it's really interesting to deal with this material, especially in kitchens and heavy stressed areas. So we talked a lot about our waterproofing systems. We're not at the end, but just in the meantime, we want to have a little look at the side to the substrate preparation and to a really interesting product, which is really good for substrate preparations, also in wet rooms, as a preparation for the later steps for the later waterproofing works. We want to talk about our Vario filler, self-leveling filler, but Vario in its name because you can adjust the water amount quite in a big range, so you can make the filler more thixotrophic, that you can do slope, yeah, and you can make it with a full amount of water to have a self-leveling compound, which is really easy to use. So we would say, let's start the mixing process. We put in the bucket the right amount of water, and we put in our Vario 582 filler. And now I want to show you how to do a nice slope, especially if you work or want to prepare the substrate in a bathroom for a shower drain, and you want to create your own slope, your own fall in the right shape to the drain. That's the way it is. You see here, Christoph is using the double mixer tool, turbo tool we call it, which is really, really fast in mixing process. It takes only 25 seconds by mixing one bag of the VS 582. So the process is really fast. Doesn't take a long time. It's really fast. So substrate preparation below, it's the same as usual. You can take the primer 749 if you have an absorbent substrate, maybe like a concrete flooring, or you take the HPS if you have a non-absorbent substrate or maybe wooden construction. Yes, also you can take the Vario filler also for wooden constructions or wooden substrates, with the right primer and the right thickness and the right toppings, of course, with maybe stress insulation. See here, Guido is using the material at the outside edges of maybe our shower room, of our bathroom, to make a slight and even slope coming to the drain. Yeah. So putting material more and more at the outside, so the material is as liquid enough to run in the direction of the drain, but it's still stiff enough that it is not self-leveling or making itself into the right level. Yeah? So with a minimum amount of water, you can make the material even more sticky, more thixotropic, that you can put a really big slope, like 4 centimeters per meter, which would be normally too much. So with this average water ratio, you can adjust the material very nice, that you have the right amount of slope in your bathroom, depending on your needs, between 1%, so 1 centimeter per meter, or 2%, 2 centimeters per meter. Yeah? And Another benefit of the material is the long open time. The pot life is very nice and long, so you can work with this material like 40 minutes, 45 minutes of pot life. So not too stressful if you have maybe transport ways and your mixing zone is not directly at your construction site. So no problem by the time, and also no problem if you see that you need a little bit extra material on some parts which you already have filled in. So no problem. 45 minutes later, you can put material on that in the still fresh material, and it will connect to each other as one piece. Yeah. You see here, slowly the material is running into the direction of the drain, and it will, by itself, it will level out like you want to have it, like a small and slight slope into the direction of the drain. So we let the VS 5A2 work for itself a little bit, so it flows into the direction of the drain. And then after it's hardened out, which is very quick, takes only 2 to 3 hours. You can walk on it, you can overwork the VS filler with waterproofing materials, you can put tiles on. So after 3 hours, you can think about getting the waterproof connected to the drain, and this is what we want to show now to you. Christoph, he's standing here and he's preparing the drain, which of course maybe it's a little bit dirty on the construction site, so we need to roughen it up a little bit with the sandpaper, and then we take a little bit of acetone for cleaning it, to remove all maybe grease which is left and which is of course making the adhesion force of the color or of the waterproofing materials set to 0, because the grease is not sticking or allow the material to stick. So there's a special color how to fix this color to the drain. With this special ring, you have to mark this ring, you have to mark these drilling points, and Christoph is showing you. It takes a little bit of time, so we have already prepared one of these colors, which Christoph can now take over. And he marked all these drilling points. He cut it a little bit in the middle, so he's able to get these marked points cut it out for the screws. So this color fits to the AEB 815 system, so it's tested with the ETAC system together. And beside the other AEB system is, of course, you have to fix it with the FDK 415. This manchette, this collar is self-adhesive, so it has a paper on the back side. You can fix this a little bit that your measurements are right, and then you remove the paper on the back side, self-gluing. Of course, the substrates need to primer, need to be cleaned before, and then you remove the paper, which is separated in 2 parts, so it's quite easy to remove this and to fix it on the substrate. Yeah, take maybe a little paper tool or sponge or something to press it to the substrate. Yeah, then take the next area, remove the paper here, and glue this as well to the substrate. Very important to remove the complete paper, of course. Yeah, that we have the full adhesion force to the substrate. And then it's a little bit tricky to put this down, but yeah, I think it's quite easy to handle and fast to do. And later on, after everything is fixed, you need to take care for these wide ring with these drilled holes. So you have to screw this ring on top of this collar. So also take care here to work from the middle section and to put the air, same with the AEB 815, to put the air to the outside, that there's no air trapped. And keep in mind here, it's a little bit more tricky to do because it's self-adhesive, and once it sticks, maybe you can remove it one time, but then it's over. So take care to adjust the collar quite good and right. Yeah. Then you take the wide ring, adjust your collar, and screw this ring on the quite elastic collar. It's a butyl material, so it's quite flexible, and you can screw this with a little power down. So everything is trapped and everything is completely pressed together. So more or less the drain system, the stainless steel drain system, the white plastic ring, and our AB collar gets one piece. So it's completely watertight, and it's no chance for the water once it floats into the drain, no chance to get behind the waterproofing. Yeah? So really safe and secure system. We drill these screws in here. And after everything is set, we take, of course, our knife, and we remove the collar which is inside of these white ring. We cut it out and remove this completely. And we then, on the next step, we easily overwork the complete section with our AEB 815 material, overlap this, and get all overlap zones waterproof with the FDK 415, that there is no chance for the water to get behind the collar or between collar and the waterproofing membrane. So you see here now Christoph is cutting out the leftovers of the collar. And then everything is nice and smooth and without any air trapped below the system. So we can take our FDK 415, overwork the complete collar and, of course, the surrounding substrates, and put our maybe pre-cutted AB 815 over this, or just go over it. Then you can check where the hole is, where the drain is, and then cut out again the AB 815 in the same diameter like the collar. See here, don't use too less of the FDK material. A little bit more is a little bit better, that you have always the right thickness to glue the AB 815 inside of these wet FDK material. So after we applied the FDK on the complete surface, we do a little bit extra material on these white ring, which is maybe a little bit deeper than the rest of the collar. So we put a little extra material on here that the AB 815, even we have plenty of overlap zone, but to keep it even more safe, we just brush a little bit of material, FDK 450 here also on this ring. And then we put the AB 815 wet into the, so to say, into the wet FDK 415, and taking our tools to press it, to work from inside to the outside, remove the air, and after a short drying time of 1.5 hours, we have secureness to be waterproof and tight. And everything is connected together like one system. And it, as I said, it's also tested in the ETAC system. So the AB 815 with this drain system is tested by ETAC. So now we have a look for the right position of the drain. So you can cut with the cross-shaped cut. You can cut in the AB 815. And remove out the inner circle with the right diameter to remove out the AB. In this section that you can put later on the stainless steel topping of the drain, and you can apply your tiles and fix your tiles and fix also this stainless steel topping with the tile adhesive. So this was our presentation about waterproofing works, waterproofing products with our liquid materials, FDF and Dsf-Rs, and the new PUFD, which is now EC1 proofed, and with our membranes with the AEB 815 and the AEB HD heavy duty, and with a little bit of left and right to how to fix the drains and how to get a substrate preparations. Thank you to my colleagues, Christoph and Guido. Good job. Very nice. Thank you. And let's say bye-bye to all of you. And feel free, if you have questions about our products, please contact us or our partners worldwide. And feel free to contact us. And have a good time. Stay safe wherever you was looking. And thank you, of course, for your time. Thank you for watching. And bye-bye, auf Wiedersehen, bis bald.